These humans, so fragile, so easy to break. And they spoke of themselves as warriors. Kalvax bellowed, eliciting rumbling laughter from his troops. His massive frame towered over the captured human soldier lying at his feet, bloodied and barely conscious. Lieutenant Thaddeus Blackwood had watched his entire platoon fall. Now he lay broken, internal bleeding slowly claiming him, while alien warriors used his defeat as entertainment. "Tell me, human," Kalvax crouched down, hot breath washing over Thaddeus's face, "of these legends your kind whisper about. The ones that made Commander Valtar hesitate before attacking your pathetic outpost." The gathered Dravik leaned forward. They had all heard whispers, tales of human resilience that defied rational explanation. Stories that had spread across the galaxy of lone human survivors accomplishing impossible feats. "Superstition," snorted Subcommander Ixala, kicking debris from the ruined human barracks. "Primitive minds create myths to explain their inadequacies." Thaddeus coughed, blood speckling his lips. His eyes glazed with approaching death, yet somehow focused on Kalvax. "You don't understand what humans are." "Enlighten us then," Kalvax sneered, gesturing theatrically to his troops. "Before you expire, entertain my warriors with your species' delusional grandeur." Around them, the smoking ruins of Outpost Valiant created a grim backdrop. The communication array destroyed. No distress signal had been sent. No one knew of their fall. "We tell stories," Thaddeus whispered, "of ordinary humans doing extraordinary things when pushed beyond limits. We call it adrenaline, mothers lifting vehicles off trapped children, soldiers fighting despite mortal wounds, the inexplicable strength of desperation." The Dravik erupted in laughter. Their sophisticated bioengineered bodies had been designed for peak performance. The concept that an inferior species could temporarily transcend their physical limitations seemed absurd. Evolutionary leftovers, Kalvax dismissed. Vestigial biological responses from primitive times. Nothing more. "The universe's rules," added Ixala. "Physical limitations cannot simply be overcome through" what? "Willpower." Thaddeus's breath grew more labored. "You destroyed our communications. You think no one knows what happened here?" "Correct," Kalvax confirmed. "Your outpost died in silence." A strange smile crossed Thaddeus's bloodied face. "That's the problem with you, Dravik. So certain, so predictable." Kalvax frowned. "Meaning?" Thaddeus's eyes grew distant, his voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carried to every Dravik present. "Private Royce. She wasn't at the outpost during the attack." "Impossible," Ixala snarled, checking her scanner. "We accounted for every human life sign within 50 kilometers." "She left yesterday," Thaddeus continued. "Cross-country run, training exercise, beyond your scanning range." Kalvax's confidence faltered momentarily. One human survivor changes nothing. "She'll have seen the smoke." Thaddeus's eyes began to close. "And that's when it happens, when we're pushed beyond limits, when it truly matters." His voice grew fainter. "It's all true. The legends, they're all true." His head slumped to the side, consciousness fading. Kalvax stood, masking his unease with contempt. "Secure the perimeter. If this Royce exists, find her before she." The perimeter alarm screamed to life, cutting him off mid-sentence. Private Alara Royce had been 20 kilometers away when she saw the black smoke rising from Outpost Valiant. Her training run, meant to break her personal endurance record, had taken her far into the wilderness of Terrorist Prime. The first emotion wasn't fear. It was cold, calculating rage. Her commanding officer had selected her for this special training regimen because of her background. Before enlisting, she'd been a champion ultramarathon runner on Earth. 70 kilometers of punishing terrain was her idea of a pleasant Sunday. Now, as she approached the ridge overlooking the outpost, that civilian training fused with military discipline. She dropped to her stomach, crawling the final meters to the vantage point. The devastation below confirmed her worst fears. The Dravik war party, at least 50 strong, moved methodically through the wreckage. She watched as they dragged Lieutenant Blackwood's body away, presumably for biological analysis. Standard Dravik protocol, she whispered to herself, recalling her xenobiology briefings. The reptilian warriors were meticulous in their conquest methodology. They would secure a 5-kilometer perimeter, establish a forward operating base, then send for reinforcements. She had perhaps 6 hours before their support vessels arrived. Alara checked her resources, a combat knife, a canteen, a small medical kit, and her tactical communications device. Useless now, with the main array destroyed. No weapons. No armor. Just her body, her training, and her mind. Impossible odds. But Alara had never acknowledged impossibility. Meanwhile, in the command tent erected amid the ruins, Kalvax studied the terrain maps with growing irritation. 3 search parties, he ordered Ixala. The human female cannot have gone far. The perimeter sensors detected movement to the north, Ixala reported. Probably local wildlife, but we've dispatched a squad. Something troubles me, Kalvax admitted reluctantly. The dying human's words. Ixala hissed dismissively. Psychological warfare. They know our species values certainty. He planted doubt with his final breath. Perhaps, Kalvax conceded. Nevertheless, find this Royce and eliminate her. Leave nothing to chance. Outside, darkness was falling rapidly. The twin moons cast conflicting shadows across the landscape, creating visual disorientation that even Dravik-enhanced vision struggled to penetrate fully. Perfect, Ilara whispered from her hiding place in the dense undergrowth. She'd spent the past hour observing, learning the patrol patterns. The Dravik were efficient, but their confidence made them predictable. She waited as a search party passed within meters of her position. Their bioscanners would detect her, but not if they were calibrated for standard human baseline readings. Ilara had learned a trick during Special Forces training. Certain combinations of biochemical responses could mask human biosignatures. Extreme exertion followed by meditative breathing sometimes created a window of biological camouflage. As the patrol moved on, she silently extracted herself from her hiding place and began her approach toward the perimeter. She needed weapons, she needed intel, and most importantly, she needed to exploit the single vulnerability all Dravik shared, their absolute conviction in their superiority. The night deepened. Alarm calls echoed periodically through the Dravik camp. Another false reading, reported a frustrated squad leader. Kalvax paced anxiously. How can one unarmed human evade our sensors? Ixala studied the readings. It's almost as if she's not registering as human. Impossible, Kalvax snapped. The legends cannot be true. But as another proximity alarm blared and another search yielded nothing, the first tremor of doubt entered his mind. The first Dravik died without a sound. Ilara dragged the body into the undergrowth, claiming its plasma pistol and communicator. Methodical, efficient. The soldier had been careless, separated from his patrol by just enough distance. 6 hours had passed since the destruction of Outpost Valiant. The Dravik reinforcements would arrive soon. Ilara felt a strange calm descend. Scientists had studied the phenomenon for centuries, how humans, when pushed beyond normal tolerances, sometimes exhibited capabilities that defied explanation. The ancient fight-or-flight response evolved to a degree that puzzled xenobiologists across the galaxy. Her heartbeat slowed. Her senses sharpened. Every sound, every movement, every scent carried information her brain processed with uncanny precision. Inside the command tent, chaos erupted. 3 more patrols have gone silent, Ixala reported, scales bristling with agitation. And the communications network is experiencing interference. Kalvax slammed his massive fist down. One human cannot do this. It defies logic. The perimeter weapons cache reports missing explosives, another officer added. And the northern sensor grid has gone dark. A terrible suspicion formed in Kalvax's mind. This isn't random. She's systematically dismantling our operation. Impossible, Ixala insisted, but her voice lacked conviction. No single human could understand our tactical vulnerabilities so quickly. Unless, Kovacs said slowly, the dying humans spoke truth. What if their legends aren't mere myths? Outside, another explosion rocked the northern perimeter. The perfect distraction. Ilara moved through the Dravik camp like a ghost. Their rigid military hierarchy worked against them now. Without clear orders, the lower-ranked warriors hesitated, unsure whether to maintain position or investigate the explosions. She had studied Dravik physiology extensively during her special forces training. Their scales, while providing excellent protection against frontal attacks, left vulnerable nerve clusters exposed at the junction between neck and shoulder. 2 more guards fell silently as she approached the communications array the Dravik had established. Their reinforcements would arrive within the hour, unless she could alter the landing coordinates. Inside the command tent, Kovacs felt something he'd never experienced in his 3 centuries of warfare: fear. The legend spoke of this, he whispered, studying the tactical display. Humans pushed beyond limits. Ordinary soldiers becoming something else. Superstition, Ixala insisted, but her voice trembled. The tent flap rustled. Report, Kovacs demanded, assuming another messenger had arrived. Instead, Private Ilara Royce stood in the entrance, plasma pistol leveled at his head. Her eyes held something that chilled his blood. Not rage, not desperation, but absolute certainty. Your reinforcements won't be landing here, she said calmly. I've redirected them to the southern hemisphere. They'll realize the error eventually, but not soon enough. Impossible, Kovacs breathed. Our encryption was designed to resist technological hacking, Ilara finished. Not someone who memorized your commander's authorization codes while watching him input them through a thermal scope. Ixala lunged forward, but froze as Ilara's weapon shifted slightly. 1 human cannot defeat a Dravik battalion. You're right, Ilara agreed. Which is why I didn't try to defeat you. I simply needed to delay you. The distant rumble of approaching ships made Kovacs's blood run cold. Those aren't our ships. Human emergency response protocol, Ilara explained. When an outpost goes dark, automated systems launch rescue operations. I just needed to buy enough time. The human reinforcements arrived with overwhelming force. The Dravik, disoriented by Ilara's systematic dismantling of their communications and defensive positions, found themselves outflanked and surrounded. Kovacs stood in the ruins of his command center, staring at the human who had single-handedly engineered his defeat. His worldview, the absolute superiority of Dravik military might, lay in tatters around him. I don't understand, he admitted as human soldiers secured him with energy restraints. How could one unaugmented being accomplish this? Commander Thorn, leader of the human rescue force, looked at Ilara with quiet respect before addressing the Dravik leader. You've never understood our species, Thorn said. Your empire expanded through genetic engineering and technological superiority. You made yourselves stronger, faster, more resilient, but you engineered out something crucial in the process. Desperation, Ilara supplied quietly. The capacity to transcend normal limitations when there's no alternative. Kovacs's eyes narrowed. An evolutionary disadvantage. Inefficient. Unreliable. Perhaps, Thorn acknowledged. But it's what's allowed us to survive against numerically and technologically superior forces throughout our history. As the human vessels prepared for departure, Kovacs was led toward a detention transport. He paused beside Ilara. The dying human Blackwood. His final words were that it's all true. The legends about humans. His reptilian eyes studied her with newfound respect. He believed you would become something beyond ordinary limitations. Ilara looked toward where medics were carefully transferring Lieutenant Blackwood's body for return to Earth. He knew I would try. That's what humans do. Is that all? Kovacs pressed, needing to understand what had transpired. Just trying harder? Commander Thorn intervened. The Galactic Council has an entire research division devoted to studying what we call human hysterical strength, the temporary ability to transcend normal physical limitations under extreme stress. They've documented cases of ordinary humans lifting vehicles, continuing to fight with mortal wounds, surviving in conditions that should be unsurvivable. Your scientists have found no explanation, Kovacs asked. Oh, they have theories, Thorne replied. Neurochemical overrides, musculature limitations that exist in the mind rather than the body, dormant genetic expressions that activate in crisis. But the truth is simpler. Which is? Kovacs demanded. Ilara answered, her voice quiet but carrying the weight of human history. We're at our most human when pushed beyond human limits. Later, as the rescue fleet departed Terror's Prime, Ilara stood in the medical bay beside Lieutenant Blackwood's body. The medical officer approached with a puzzled expression. Private Royce, you should see this, she said, showing Ilara the bioscanner readings. Lieutenant Blackwood, he's not actually dead. Ilara stared at the readings in disbelief. That's impossible. I saw him take a direct hit from a Dravik plasma cannon. His body initiated some kind of extreme hibernation state, the medic explained. His metabolic rate dropped to levels our scanners initially registered as death. But there's definite neural activity. As if responding to their conversation, Blackwood's eyes fluttered open. His voice emerged as barely a whisper, told them it was all true. Across the galaxy, the story spread. How a single human soldier had delayed an entire Dravik battalion. How a mortally wounded officer had survived seemingly fatal injuries through sheer biological stubbornness. The legend grew with each telling. In the halls of the Dravik High Command, military strategists pored over the incident reports with growing concern. Their fundamental understanding of human capabilities required revision. And in human military outposts throughout contested space, a new saying emerged, whispered like a prayer before impossible missions. Remember Royce. Remember Blackwood. When all else fails, it's all true. The legends weren't myths after all. They were warnings.